So Dilbert creator Scott Adams just went on an absolute screed on his recent podcast in which he criticized Donald Trump for his approval of the Republicans' big, beautiful bill that they just passed through Congress. He talks about how if this bill actually gets passed into law because of the debt that it adds to the national debt over time, that it's going to basically tarnish Trump's reputation and lead to a failed presidency. Doesn't matter all of the other things that he's done. It's going to undo all of those things. And this is Scott Adams, who just got diagnosed with cancer, who has a couple of months to live. He's really putting it on the line. And Scott Adams is a fan of Trump and has been a fan of Trump since 2015. So this represents one of Trump's own, who is coming out strongly against Trump and his plan and what it adds to the debt over time. Take a listen to what he has to say, and I'll come in afterwards with my own thoughts.
Now, what do you think this budget would do to the national debt, which is the only thing that matters? Because if we don't get the national debt down, none of the rest of that matters. You know, you're not going to get tax on tips because you're not even going to have a restaurant. There won't be any place to even work to get a tip. So the one most important thing, by far the most important thing, by 100 to 1, the most important thing is that the new budget decreases spending enough so that our deficit and debt situation and the national reputation is preserved. So how does it do it? It doesn't. It blows the debt up like a lot. It's not even close. So if you were to rate this bill, you would say all the little that doesn't matter. Oh, I like it. The little I like that there's no tax on tips. I like it. But if you looked at the one and only thing that matters, which is what does this do to the national debt, it absolutely destroys it. So Republicans have failed as hard as you can possibly fail. Trump is failing as hard as you can possibly fail. In fact, so hard, I would have to say his presidency will be judged a complete failure if this budget is passed. Is that too strong? You know me. I've been a huge supporter of the president since 2015. But I'm going to say it again because I don't want you to miss it. If this budget passes, it's going to blow up the debt situation, and I would consider the Trump presidency a complete failure because it would destroy the country. And there's no question about it, by the way. Nobody would argue with what I just said. Do you think they're going to do it anyway? It looks like it. Sure looks like it. Can we survive it? I have no idea how we could. So if Trump wants to destroy his legacy completely, he's on a path to do that. And I don't give one about anything else he did. I don't care about his clever tweets. I don't care that he stopped a war in a country I don't live in. I don't care that he bolstered the, well, I do care that he did the border, but it's nowhere near as important as this. Not even close. Although maybe it is. But if you don't get the budget right, that is a failed presidency and a failed country, and there's no way around it. Now, if he's got some secret plan to switch to crypto or make so many robots that it all works out, I don't know. You could try. But at the moment, let me say as clearly as possible, it looks like a completely failed presidency. Now, if he can answer that question, how is it that you're going to blow up the deficit and call yourself a Republican? I'm open to listening to it. Could he change my mind? Maybe. But he'd have to say something I'd never heard before, because everything I've heard so far would suggest complete failed presidency, which is weird because I'm not sure it had to happen that way. I'm just not sure it had to happen that way. So that's tragic.
Okay, so I agree with a lot of what Scott Adams had to say in this absolute excoriation of Trump I think that at the end of the day, if your company goes bankrupt, and let's face it, by the time we hit 2035, you're going to have another $20 trillion of debt. This bill would add another $5 trillion of debt right on top of that. So we're looking at $63 trillion of debt by 2034. And recently the study out of Penn Wharton said that if we don't right our fiscal ship of state soon, that no combination of raising taxes or reducing spending by 2040 will arrest the financial collapse of our nation. So all of this is just going to explode the national debt by 2034. We have to get our fiscal ship of state in order by 2040. So that gives us like 6 years to make some really tough cuts or raise revenue. Or some combination of the two, and we haven't demonstrated historically that we have the ability to do that. So we're going to have this 6-year window within which to act. And I think that what Scott Adams is saying here is that we've really painted ourselves into a corner from a fiscal perspective. And instead of addressing the debt, Donald Trump is just piling on top of it, charging it all to the national credit card. So I think there's a lot of truth. I don't agree with everything that Scott Adams said in this thing. I think it's a somewhat fatalistic, but I think I agree with a lot of what he said. What does this mean for you? As an everyday American, it means that tax rates 10 years from now are likely to be dramatically higher than they are today. I don't think there's any way around it. So if you have a lot of money in your IRAs or 401ks, you should strongly consider doing Roth conversions. Get that money systematically shifted to Roth IRAs. You want to shift that money slowly enough that you don't rise into a tax bracket that gives you heartburn, but quickly enough that you get all the heavy lifting done before January 1st, 2034. If these Trump tax cuts go through, and I suspect that they will, even if it's a sort of a skinny down bill based on what some of these Republican senators are insisting upon, I think it will go through. And I think that means we have 9 years during which to take advantage of historically low tax rates. I'm Dave McKnight. Thanks for watching.